So I'd like to welcome you to INSEAD.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited about hearing your stories and your ideas about Mount Everest. So tell me a little about yourself first. You're Singaporean.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Yi Hui, and I'm Singaporean. I'm the co-leader of the Women's Everest team, and we climbed the mountain in 2009. So it's been quite a few years since.
So tell me a little bit about the team. Who was on your team?
Okay, so the team started in 2004. So both myself and Jane, who is the leader, both of us were the leaders of the team. We decided that we wanted to form an all-women's team to climb Everest. And at that point, there have been a couple of teams to Everest, but none of them had any female participation in the team. So we thought we wanted to push the boundaries of generally women in sports in mountaineering. So we formed the team. So we sent out a press release, and there were 80 women who responded to us. But of course, over a series of selections, which include interviews, just to see what were their motivations like. Like some of them said, okay, I want to get fit, I want to lose weight. So, I mean, it's in the process, we will achieve these goals, but we just wanted to make sure that the participants who came in had the right mindset. So over a series of 5 years, we took 5 years to train and prepare, and eventually the final team made up of 6 of us, and we went to Mount Everest, climbing the south side in Nepal.
Okay. What was your goal for the team? What was your overriding goal?
Well, actually, when we first formed the team, my goal was just to climb the mountain. But when we actually formed the team, and we realized that it was not just involving us, because we had members coming from all walks of life, and even though we were the leaders, but we had team members who were much older than us and more experienced in the area of mountaineering. I was a bit daunted because it turned out to be, the goal and the purpose turned out to be much bigger than what I eventually set out to do. We became the Women's Everest team, and suddenly the papers, reported that we were going to represent the country, although there were no Olympic medals to be won.
Now you talked about leadership, which is a role, and you talked about the fact that there were older members. There was also an Army major on your team who wasn't one of the leaders, but a serving major in the Singaporean Army right now.
Yeah. So, we were very diverse in terms of our personalities and our capabilities and strengths. So, like we had a major in the Army, her name is Paige. So when she came in, it was really military. Like, when she came for training, very disciplined, and she expected everyone to fall into line. Because back in her workplace, she commands like all the men under her. So we were a bit terrified of her. Because we didn't know how our communication styles would be like. And we also had team members who had like really no experience at all in mountaineering. So we had to really assign roles to each other. So Paige, she is very strong with communications and technology. So she was assigned as the person to look into all the equipment, for example, the satellite phones and all the camera equipment on our climbs.
And so the third piece is process. And we have to think a little bit about process, because process is always an important part. But talk about one of the things that really fascinated me, which I think would be brilliant for family businesses, was your daily debriefs.
Yeah, that is, we do that on the mountain because Everest, to climb Everest, you don't just do it in 2 weeks. In fact, we spent 2.5 months in the place itself because we needed time to acclimatize. So it's a very stressful environment, as you would see, because you are constantly surrounded by this pressure to be able to perform and climb, because there is a limited weather window period where you can actually summit. So we realized in such stressful environments, you need to have certain fixed process, and the daily debriefs was one of them. So every day, we will always gather in the tent to talk about what happened in the course of the day, and if there are certain things we needed to sort out, we will be able to discuss and make any decisions based on the discussions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another important part was training. How did you do training? I mean, did you do it individually or?
Yeah, so training is the most difficult part, I would say, because there are no mountains in Singapore, so we had to climb like HDB flats, going up and down. The residents thought the lifts were broken down, so it's very difficult to get everyone to train together at every single time. So we had certain fixed days where it was team trainings, because we realized the importance of training together as a team. It's like the team that eats together, plays together and train together. So we train up to 6 days a week during the preparation time. So we had 2 days a week, which is compulsory team training, where you have to appear and train together as a team. And then the rest of the days, we just do it on our own time and schedule. Yeah.
So now we talked about roles. Decision making is a very critical issue in teams. How did you make decisions? When you've got an Army major, you've got all different ages, how did you make decisions?
In mountaineering, I think in a way it's slightly easier because some of the consequences are very real, are very critical. It can be a life and death situation. So in a way, it makes decision making easier because you know that you cannot sacrifice and buy a piece of gear that you know it's not of good quality. So that naturally lends itself for us to decide that, okay, we would rather spend and invest more money to get a piece of gear that you know that increases your chance of survival. Yeah. Or decisions like if you go out to like we were in the tent, and if we had to walk out to do our business, we have heard of incidents where people, they didn't make the effort to put on the full boots, and they just slipped. So we had certain rules to say that we needed to be fully equipped at all times and not let our guards down. So a lot of decisions were made in the light of the consequences that could happen, which could be death.
Okay, last one is interpersonal, the GRPI. And you made the comment, because I would never use this expression, there were no cat fights.
Oh, okay.
Having 3 daughters, I grew up with cat fights fairly regularly, but talk about that one. What did you do?
There were no open cat fights.
Oh, no open cat fight. You had hidden cat fights.
It all goes inside the tent. So.
Oh, it stayed in the tent.
I think the way we handle conflict is we try to be very objective. So obviously there were a lot of times where we disagreed with decisions made, and also because of different personalities. But we will always go back to the goal, which is that we want to get up the mountain safely and come down. Yeah. So we knew that goal was strong enough to direct us towards that goal, because in light of all the differences, if you put that goal in as the overarching thing to look at, then it makes decision making a lot easier. Before the climb, we have actually known each other for at least 5 years, and a few of us, 2 of us, me and Jane, we have gone back even more. So when we went there, I think the relationships between the team members were stronger. The understanding amongst each other was stronger as well. Whereas for the commercial teams, typically, as clients, you pay, you meet each other at maybe the base of the mountain or in Nepal, and then you climb together. So everyone has their own agenda. There is no shared goal. Of course, everyone's goal is to get to the top, but when things happen, you make your own decisions, and you listen to the expedition leader who obviously is more experienced and who can make the decision for you.
If we get the shared value or the goal in everybody's mind, and we use that to make all of our decisions, that's what makes successful families and successful organizations. Do you want to talk about your experience a little bit? I know it's a hard one, but...
Yeah. So out of the 6 of us, 5 of my teammates, they reached the top of Everest. So on 2 separate days, with just the day after. Yeah, and on the day I was supposed to, we have actually acclimatized on the mountain for a good 1.5 months before the summit push, and I have been experiencing some chest tightness and chest pain. So the doctor diagnosed it as costochondritis, which is inflammation of the sternum. So it got to the point during the climb that it was so bad that I couldn't really move forward without being in pain, and it was affecting my breathing and my just trying to move and keep up. So I knew that at that rate and that condition, I wasn't going to make it. So I made the very difficult decision to actually turn around and head back down to camp. So when I made that decision, it was very hard because you know that you have trained 5 years for it. And in a way, it's always you never know, so you could have just pushed on. But I decided to make the rational decision to turn around and not head back to the summit. Yeah, so the most touching moment was when my teammate, she reached the summit, and the first thing she said, it wasn't, oh, I'm at the top, or I've made it. It was, the first thing that she said to me was, Yi Hui, this is for you. And that was when I really felt, even though I was so far away from the summit, but it was really a team effort, and the success was a team one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My last question would be, what advice would you give to business families? And I think maybe the statement you just made is probably the best advice. Yi Hui, this is for you, right?
I think the advice which I mean, it's not just in mountain climbing, but in any teams is, I think the importance of having a shared goal, as you mentioned. Because at the very start, even before any of us went on our first training, we had sat down and we laid out the expectations, which was you need to commit X number of years of your life.
Well, this is interesting. You committed to 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a bit of a story, but
yeah.
We had to postpone for 1 year because, and on the year that we were due to climb, which is in 2008, we had short of funds, so we could only send 2.5 climbers to climb. So we didn't want to have more cat fights to decide who to go. So we decided to actually postpone by a year, so that we could raise enough money to send the whole team to go, which we eventually did. So so this whole change of plans and all that, we of course we didn't expect it at the start, but we knew that at the very minimum we would commit 4 years of our lives to training. So we had actually laid all this out at the very start when we recruited the team members who came in. So obviously there were a lot of people who, upon hearing that you need to train for 4 years, they decided that it's not something that they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, thank you, and they left. So it's really important to set the expectations clear that this is what you need to commit yourself to. Of course, things will change, but by then you would have developed that team spirit, and as a team, the new team, you come up with further goals to move on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of your teammates, Esther,
yeah.
What did she do the minute she got down off the mountain?
Oh, she got married.
And then?
And not immediately, but yeah, she's a mother of 3 now. Yeah.
So it really did there was a lot of sacrifice.
Yes.
I mean, you guys put off a lot in your lives to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for spending time with us, for sharing the ideas, for helping make what we're talking about in here human in a different way. So thank you.